Hello, welcome to Brown Dog Gadgets Live. I'm Amanda, the Education Outreach Coordinator here at Brown Dog Gadgets. Behind the camera, I've got my main man, Pete.
I'm here.
Yay! Today we are going to be building some paper circuit cubes, which are super fun. They're really engaging and a great way to show how different components can work together. But before that, please make sure, if you haven't already, follow us on our different social media platforms. We've got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and YouTube. Also, while we are presenting today, please feel free to comment, ask questions, all that good stuff. You can also find all of our templates and projects on browndoggadgets.com. And then afterwards, if you do have any questions, feel free to email us at help@browndoggadgets.com. All right. Without further ado, we're jumping into these guys. We've got our circuit cubes. Are so much fun. Pete, could you kind of give a background on how this came about?
Yes, I can. So originally I was trying to figure out a way to do like a connection with magnets and maker tape and some paper bits. So I was kind of noodling around with that idea. And then Josh had mentioned this teacher, I think in Australia, who came up with something like this, but they used foam blocks and probably copper tape to kind of just show that, I think for students who had mobility issues, they could kind of hold these large blocks and press them together and be like, oh, it makes a connection, it makes a circuit. So between Josh showing me that and me telling him that I had this magnet idea, we kind of come up with these paper cubes. So it's another paper circuit, just like any other stuff. It's got the magnets inside and some washers in there, and then it uses the maker tape and it presses together, and magic.
And voila.
Yeah.
Or science.
Science.
Not
Indeed.
magic.
Right.
Awesome. Let's switch to that overhead camera. We'll see some of the different cubes that we've got, and then we'll build one as well. So each cube has its own template. So we've got one specifically for the battery. Then we've got one specifically for an LED. We've got one that is a switch that can help you turn on and off the circuit, which I think is really handy in this situation. We've got one for a random component, so you could add like one of our peel and stick motors, which I've got here. Then we've got one for a larger component, and this is the one I'm going to actually build today. The build with the tape is a little bit different. It's a little bit more complex, just to make sure that the large component isn't short-circuiting because it's so much bigger and it would touch the paths of the normal one. And then there's also a blank component. Originally, when I started here, I know Josh mentioned that there was an educator that color-coded them. So had like the battery source was one color, and motors were another color, and any lights were a different color. I really think this would be a great project for older kids to build them and then teach younger kids about how circuitry works. So one of the things that you'll notice is that you can talk about polarity. So right now my LED is lit up, but if I turn it around so my polarity is not lined up correctly, it will not work with my LED. So it's a very clear way to show polarity. You can line up a motor with it. You can also show, right now my motor is working, but my LED is not. That can show you that motors have, the polarity does matter for a motor, but it just changes the direction. Because then if I turn it around, it works. There's the other one. Oh, you know what? It's probably my LED. There we go. So then I can get all of it working at the same time. I can get a switch in there and actually control it. So these are they're such a great tool to teach circuitry in a really fun and engaging way. Pete, I feel like you were going to say something while I was going.
A few other educators we talked to once said they would label them as like an input or an output, or they would even add positive and negative to them. It's like, oh, that's part of the investigation, which side is positive, which negative. And then I think one even said like, they would have students draw the schematic symbol on the side, or if you
Cool.
want to get a little more advanced, so that you associate the schematic symbol with the part. So
Yeah.
there is a lot of options. It's a piece of paper, so you can draw on it, write on it, attach
Yep.
whatever. So yeah.
Now, side note, we did use heavy cardstock. That is really important with these because you want to be able to move them around. You don't want it to, be too flexible when you pull them apart. It is really important that you use heavier cardstock for these just to make sure that they stand up to everyday use and the circuits themselves. All right, so for our basic circuitry ones, you'll see that on the back, you add washers and magnets, and I'll show you how to do that on the other one because that is standard for all of them. However, on the front, it is one strip of maker tape on each side of the cube. So this one literally just wraps, it doesn't go all the way around, but it just wraps on 3 faces of that cube. The bigger component that I'm going to make does look a little bit different than that. So I just wanted to point that out. Most of them are just literally a simple strip going along. It really is very easy with the maker tape. We are going to build this bigger component with a larger motor. So like I said before, and I actually had to ask Pete this question, I was like, why are the paths routed differently? Why is this one different? And he said, when you've got that bigger component on there, if you have those paths running right over the top, and you've got this metal piece here, there's a chance that it can actually short circuit the project out. So he routed the path down around the side to make sure there was a little bit more space to not cause a problem.
It was a good way to sort of future-proof it too, in case we came up with any other ideas for larger things. You could just kind of do that.
Absolutely. All right, so I've got mine already cut out. I'm going to jump to the back first, and you're going to notice that there's a spot for a washer and a spot for a magnet. Now, I know that when Pete and Josh and the crew were figuring out what works for this, they went through a couple different washers and magnets and strengths of magnets. Pete, can you say something to that real quick?
Oh, definitely. So we didn't want to use neodymium or rare earth magnets. They're very strong, even for small ones, but they are a little dangerous compared to the classic ceramic magnets we'll use. So we found those little ceramic magnets that are not super strong, they're just strong enough. We found washers that were pretty much the same size, and you have to make sure you don't buy stainless steel washers because those are not magnetic.
Oh.
So if in doubt, if you go to the hardware store, bring a magnet along and just make sure they're standard, probably zinc steel washers. And we just tape them in instead of gluing them. That's all you really need. You don't need to use hot glue or some weird glue to glue them down. Tape works just fine because they're pulling against the tape, on the other side. So tape's just holding them in place. It works great for that.
Yeah, just basic Scotch tape to hold it in place.
Very simple, quick and easy.
Yeah, so while he was explaining that, I've literally attached my washers and my magnets. So, they're just taped in place. And these are just little 1/4-inch flat washers. Here's the box for, the magnets if you really wanted to see that.
And we didn't do magnet connecting to magnet because then you have to be very aware of the polarity, and you need twice as many magnets. So washers are cheap for a little bin of those, so you're just sticking a magnet to a piece of metal. Polarity won't matter on that.
Yeah. Awesome. So now we're going to actually build the cube before adding the maker tape. For the other ones, I suggest adding the maker tape right away before building the cube, but since we have to go around these corners, I'm just going to build the cube right away. I have already scored these edges, so it makes it really easy to fold. I used a metal ruler and an X-Acto knife and just gently went over them just to make sure that it folds exactly where I want it to.
Now, because maker tape is so awesome, you can apply the tape and then just add little bits of tape to close up those corners too. Yeah, either way works.
just going to make it the most complex for myself,
Good idea.
make it really
Make it a
confusing.
challenge.
And then, honestly, all we're doing with this cube is taping it together. So we're just going to go around the different sides.
The first time we brought these to a trade show or a conference was right after we came up with them. And I think we didn't get to ship them. We brought everything. I said, Josh, these are going to just get smashed in whatever we put them in. So we ended up just building them all there like the day before the show. Just, it's a bunch of tape and scissors and all the parts, and
Yep.
very easy to assemble.
They really are. And you get quite a bang for your buck with these. It's such a great tool for learning about circuitry and polarity, and it really is pretty cool.
I know Josh has said too it would be great for older students who have younger buddies or whatever they're called.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
Oh yeah. the buddy thing. They didn't
Yeah.
have that when I was in school, but
Oh, it's a great idea.
yeah.
All right, almost done. I'm just going to tape this lid down. And then we'll apply our maker tape and add our part. So it's literally that easy to make the cube. It's just folded, taped together, but it really is very sturdy when using that harder cardstock. So now we're going to use maker tape to add our pathways to our cube. If you have never used maker tape before, maker tape is awesome. It is the far superior cousin to copper foil tape. Copper foil tape, there is a strong chance that you will rip it when you're applying it and then it no longer works, or it's not as consistent. Maker tape is really strong. You need to cut it with a scissors. The great thing is it's also conductive all the way through, or Z-axis conductive, so you can take two pieces and overlap them. And just like Pete was saying, I could just put a piece over the corner if I put all the tape down all ahead of time. Although I would say, Pete, since I taped it up,
Yeah.
I think I want the tape on top of that tape.
Oh yeah.
So that could mess me up if I put the tape down first. All right. If you're using our maker tape, and honestly, if you haven't tried maker tape before, you can request a sampler pack. The sampler pack comes with a 5-meter roll of maker tape on a 3D printed holder. It has 5 different projects in here that you can try out to kind of understand who we are here at Brown Dog Gadgets. It's really an awesome deal. And then if you wanted to print your own holders, if you've got the rolls and no holders, we have the 3D printable files on browndoggadgets.com. When you go onto the website, you're going to look for 3D printable files. And all of them are in there. We've got the holder for the 5-meter roll, got the holder for the 20-meter roll. We even have battery holders.
And lots more.
And lots more. When Pete makes a 3D printable item, when he 3D prints something and we think that it's good for other people, we put the file up there. We're not going to make you pay for the file.
I think Josh I made a headphone holder for my office wall, and he's like, put that on the website. I'm like, headphone holder, okay, whatever.
I was going to show you how to get this off, but I really messed this one up and it was just kind of hanging off, so we'll just
No problem.
use it. All right, so I'm going to run my maker tape just along these pathways. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as my maker tape is actually overlapping. And I'm just gonna take it off the roll, it's being funky. Oh, and then side note, if you are trying to figure out how to take it off of the backing, because it can be tricky if you're not quite sure, you hold it about 1 centimeter away from the top, take the pad of your finger and just pull back a couple times, and it'll pull away from it. All right, so I'm gonna just leave it on the backing for now. I'm gonna wrap this one all the way around, following that path.
When we came back from the holidays, I was so rusty at peeling maker tape, it took me a few tries to
Did it?
to get it going again, yeah. I may have had a really old roll too or something, but
That could be.
I was like, why won't this
Or was it a brand new roll and you didn't snip the end?
It was the 1/8 inch, and I think
Oh.
it was an old roll. It's been on my desk for a couple of years.
Gotcha.
This is kind of...
And you'll notice that this side did not come up to the top of the cube on this one, but this side does. And that's actually where I'm going to put the wire. I'm just going to put a piece on there, and then I'll put the wire on top and another piece to connect it. That might even be too long. It might come close to the component, but if so, I can peel some away and cut it back.
I like the fan when we have it for demos at trade shows in case it's really warm in the hall. You can just kind of have a little personal fan blowing at you.
I don't know, I've been cold. And I guess that was just ISTE, but I was cold.
Yeah, Josh is always like, oh, it's cold in the convention hall. Wear pants, bring a sweatshirt. I'm like, no, I'm always warm in there.
You're always warm everywhere.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, and we've got one more path to do on this last face. Or I guess it was also the first face. All right, so my cube is all set up. So now I'm going to add my component. The motor I'm going to put on top is actually the motor that we use for our solar house. It's got some pretty long wires. I can kind of get them out of the way if I need to. And it's just got a little blade on top.
I think we also use that for our wind wand.
We do, our wind wand. And I'm going to keep it in place, I think, with some double-sided tape. Thought I had a thicker piece. That's right. I'm going to take a piece of double-sided tape and stick it on top of the component box. I'm just going to stick the motor to that. It's not going to be permanent. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll stay for my purposes right now. If you want it really to stay, if you want it to stay really well, maybe hot glue, but I mean, it's on there. Yeah. And now, I might even just try to get these out of the way a little. Now what I'm going to do is take the wires and I'm going to tape one to one side and one to the other. This is going to be a great way to show that difference in polarity for motors, because students will be able to see that it just changes the direction of the rotation. I'm just going to tape one down here. I lost my tape.
Yeah, this is probably one of the fastest ways to demo that, because you can just flip that cube around.
Yeah.
You know, you're not like dealing with a battery, you have to change the tape or wires on. You're just flipping the cube to reverse the polarity.
And of course I'm struggling with just taping it down right now. It's all my fingers though. That's all it is. All right, and I want to run my nail along the sides of that motor wire because I want to make sure it makes a really strong connection.
Ooh, I'll point out too, you probably, I know it was a little bit of struggle there, you probably do want to put that plastic blade on before you stick it down, because otherwise you'll press it down and probably crush your cube.
It's true. And I just decided I actually don't want the wires wrapping around it because it might get caught up in it.
You could tape them down too.
Yeah. All right, I need to connect my other wire. That's going wild on me here. There we go. I'm gonna put the tape on the wire first. Nope, didn't want to. All right, so I've got my large motor all set up. So when I connect it with my power source, it should spin. There we go. So we can see the direction that way. And then if I flip it around, we can see it will go the other way.
Can you add a LED on the other side of the fan?
Let's find out. I sure can.
All right.
Can I?
Yeah.
We're starting to lose a little bit of power there,
Yeah.
but it still works.
And that's also a great demo of, you know, as you add more components, they require more power.
Yep. And then I can add the switch in there. So we can just control that spin. And then when you're controlling it, you can see a little bit easier what direction it is spinning. I think that's really helpful. Yeah. So these are our paper circuit cubes. I think they're really awesome. And I really do love that idea that I said earlier of having older students make them, who probably already have a lot of concepts of circuitry from other projects that you've done, but then they do the teaching to some younger students, especially students who maybe aren't ready to work with the tape because it can be like maybe like second grade. They aren't ready necessarily to, with their fine motor skills, to be able to do those things, but they're ready to learn the concepts.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're getting that ahead of time, which I think is just so awesome.
When we first posted these too, we had a few people say like, "Oh, are you going to sell this as a kit?" And like so many things, it's really a project. You can buy, all the electronic components from us, and then we'll tell you where to get the washers and the magnets. We have links in the guide where to get that stuff. We don't want to stock washers and magnets and stuff. And paper, well, you can get that kind of anywhere. Yeah.
It looks like I don't have quite enough power for that LED the way it's lined up, and that's okay.
And you can't, I think we even did one where we doubled up the batteries, like we stacked 2 batteries on top of each other to get a little more voltage, depending on what you want to run, if you want to run the motors or something.
Yeah, just really cool. It's a great way to have kids build something that's interactive and really hit home all those different aspects of circuitry.
Definitely.
Awesome. I love it, Pete. These are so awesome. I really think you did a great job with these.
That's one of my favorite projects.
Yeah. Very cool. If you do have any questions going forward, please email us at help@browndoggadgets.com. You can find the templates to all of these projects for free on our website at browndoggadgets.com. If you do build any of this with your students and you share it on social media, please tag us. We really love seeing the different projects that people make and what really gets kids going in the classroom. And I do think this would be one of them, for sure.
And you can email us too if you want, and if you don't want to post it online, let us know if we can post it. We'd love to share it. We can do it anonymously and say, hey, some teacher made this or whatever. We always love to see what people do.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah.
Next week, we've got some Valentine's Day cards that we'll be doing, the Be Minecraft, as well as the heart bracelet topper wearable. So lots of fun Valentine projects next week. We hope you join us. Once again, if you have not followed us, it is not Halloween, Pete.
It's the only holiday music I have.
If you have not followed us on our social media platforms, please do so. We've got lots of different short reels that we're putting up lately, as well as lots of different live streams. So we'd love to have you check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and YouTube. That's all I've got for today. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Have a good night.